hands and giving each other a hug like we used to. But for right now, we got to stay safe. And I'll come up with my handshake now. Handshake now is the Wakanda. Wakanda. That's my handshake.
I like
so
that.
When you see me, you do this, that means that's a handshake or an embrace
right.
now.
All right. Well, maybe I'll have to give you one of those before we. There you go, Wakanda forever. Okay. To get it started, just to let everybody know, in addition to Mr. Harrison with us this evening, another guest that we have who's going to be with us at various points during the evening. Those who've been involved with Jazz Art Charlotte know this is truly a man who needs no introduction. Our artistic director and one of the finest drummers there is around, and that's my brother, Mr. O.C. Davis. So, O.C., we know you're out there. Just, I don't know if the audience can see you. Some who have it on array might be able to see you, but we might be hearing from O.C. at some time during the evening. So let's get into what we want to talk about. Got a whole lot of things to talk about with someone who's been as involved with the music as long as Donald Harrison has been. But let's go all the way back, even before that. You notice that when we started, I did refer to him as Big Chief, and that is because for those of you who are familiar with Afro-New Orleans culture, Afro-New Orleans Indian culture, I should say, you may be aware that Mr. Harrison, in addition to all of his other accolades, is also known as Big Chief of Congo Square. Now, I have to admit, being a New Yorker by birth, I wasn't very familiar with the Afro-New Orleans Indian culture until I saw the show that you were also very heavily involved with, and that was Treme. And if you could just give us all, a lot of novices out here, Donald, if you can just tell us a little bit about the Indian culture, the Afro-New Orleans Indian culture. And I understand your dad, Donald Harrison Sr., was also very much involved. So I want to talk a little bit about that, at least its origins, how you became involved, and what it means to you in your life and career.
Well, in New Orleans, there's a place, one of the few places in the Northern Hemisphere where Africans were allowed to continue their culture. And that was in a place called Congo Square. If you read up about that place, if you were from Nigeria or Yoruba or Efik, you could continue the culture that you brought with you from Africa. It wasn't shut down. So we still have tribal culture today, and some of the participants honor Native Americans because they helped enslaved people when they ran into the swamps to be free. And then some of the people behind the scenes, they still kept the African retention and the things that they brought along with them from Africa. I'm on the African side, Congo Square, of course. And one of the things when you go high up in the culture is you get an understanding of exactly what came from Africa that was used in jazz and which players are actually playing the music and how it became part of jazz. Exactly, I know exactly what came from Africa that we play in jazz, even till this day, that was added in New Orleans culture. And so so I play from that perspective. When I was young, I said, well, you have the roots of New Orleans music, how some of it was put together from Africa. I was playing traditional jazz too. So I said, I have a chance to know the whole history of this music and how it was put together, because all the old musicians were still alive when I started. So fortunately, I had a chance to play with the guys who played with Louis Armstrong. I took Johnny Hodges' place in the Dukesmen. I played with all the beboppers. I played with a lot of swing musicians. I played fusion with the innovators of fusion, with the innovators, with McCoy Tyner, Miles Davis. So basically, I played with every era of jazz, and that's how I started creating styles. I created styles from experience, from knowing what these guys talking to Roy Haynes and him telling me, this is what we worked on with Bird, and then going on the bandstand and working that out. But with Art Blakey, this is what Lee Morgan did. Now with Dr. Eddie Henderson, who's another great master.
Yes.
So I wanted to be able to play music from experience, because I read in high school what Charlie Parker said, if you don't live it, it won't come out of your horn, which was very profound for me. And from what I gathered from that was, when you're playing music, you're telling stories, but stories that come from inside, your story. So I wanted my story to be complete. In some kind of way, I was able to play with all those great musicians, and I've really paid attention to them and their lessons, and tried to ingest them from a real perspective. Like, if I can show you Art Blakey's stickings, because he showed them to me, or stuff that all these great musicians, they showed me what they were doing and told me their concepts. Because I found that you can learn so much from listening to a record, but when you're on the bandstand with the person who actually invented it, even Fred Wesley from James Brown, and my man from Parliament Funkadelic, I can't think of his name right there, but all the styles of music, even hip hop musicians, I just went around everybody and learned as much as I could, because I wanted it to be inside of me. I wanted to be a breathing representative of all those lessons, and to have like the Mississippi River, when it comes here from all over the United States, all the silt is so rich because it has everything in it. So that was my concept, and it led to me doing a lot of different things with music. But the first step was for me, everybody has their own concept, was to really learn the truth behind what all the musicians, not read it in a magazine, not listen to the record, but get it on the bandstand with the guys who actually made it up.
Oh, yeah. Let's talk a little bit about, you mentioned, of course, Roy Haynes. You played with the great Roy Haynes, and also with Art Blakey and the Jazz Messengers. Now, when you were, well, first of all, let me ask, how did you become a messenger? I know with Art, he was very selective about who he brought into the band. A lot of cats wanted to be in your place, but didn't get that opportunity. What was it that Art told you that was special about you that made him bring you into the band?
Well, I can talk about the first time I met him, which was in Boston. He came to play, and Bill Pierce, the great saxophonist, he was my teacher at the time at Berkeley. And Bill brought me in the dressing room, and he said, "This is my student. He can play, Art." And Art said, "Where's your horn?" I said, "I left it at the school." He said, "Don't ever leave your horn. Make sure you always have it, because you never know what's going to happen." And he instructed me to go get my horn and come back for the second set and play. So then I played with the Messengers. I think Bobby Watson was playing alto at the time. And after the gig, Art said, "I'm going to call you one day. You're going to be a Jazz Messengers." And well, when Marcellus Brothers left, that's what happened. But I learned from Art that he chooses the people in the band, because I was trying to get a saxophone player in the band to take my place, a young guy. And he wanted Kenny Garrett, so he got Kenny Garrett. So Art, the reason you get in Art's band is because Art wants you. It's like any band. And I feel very fortunate that I had that experience, and that he taught me so many lessons that I use in music.
Okay.
It was a blessing. And I remember I talked about learning his drum, his stickings, what they call stickings, how he would make combinations on the drums. After every gig, I used to sit on his drums and play, thinking I was playing what Art had played, some of the ideas he had played. And after a while, Art asked me, "What are you doing?" in his voice. "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm playing your stuff." He said, "No, you're not. You got it all wrong." And then he started showing me, "No, this is how you do this, and this is." And then over time, I actually played drums for Art Blakey when he missed gigs. And there was an Italian magazine that had Donald Harrison and the Jazz Messengers. I wish I had kept that.
Oh, wow.
I took Art's place on drums with the Jazz Messengers. So that's
wow.
One for the storybooks.
Oh yeah, I mean, about that experience? I mean, I know Art missed the gig, but what was it like? I mean, that had to be a nerve-wracking, but also an exciting experience, I guess, sitting in for the master like that.
Well, the audience stayed, so I did okay, I guess, and they still cheered for us. But I am no Art Blakey. Let's put that. There's only one Art Blakey. He's in my estimation, and most jazz musicians, the most swingingest human being that ever walked the planet.
I know you took so many lessons from your time with Art. Is there any one particular one that still sticks in your mind above all, something that Art showed you or told you that really has stuck with you above any of the rest, or any one of them you can think of?
I guess you don't have anything to prove. Just be yourself. He would say, don't try to be the greatest, because when you try to be the greatest, you have to prove it, and that's what will drive you crazy. Just play from your heart and tell your story, and that stuck with me. Just to be natural, and let people feel who you are as a human being. And there's so many great one-liners from Art Blakey that you carry, all the jazz musicians carry with us, you know. And he just could teach you something very deep and meaningful with a few sentences, and then get you to understand it. I remember one thing he told me was, "Let the punishment fit the crime," and he was talking about when you're playing the blues, play the blues. That's what he meant. When you're playing Latin music, try to understand that. Try to really understand all these styles of music and play from that perspective. So I could go on and on with all that stuff. He used to talk us through our solos, you know, while you were playing. Only you could hear him. The audience couldn't hear him. He would be like, "Play the blues right now. All right, double up. Now go crazy." You know, he'd be giving you instructions to help you understand how to build your solo and how to mesh with him, catching all your phrases. And when you played good, he would tell you that's it right there, you know, all those kind of things. And you would be smiling in the ear when you got "that's it right there." You'd be so happy, because you know he was happy. You were getting it for him. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. It's a great story about an amazing teacher, amazing musician. You mentioned in you talking about that, one of the things he talked about is, if you're going to play Latin. And you're also known, in addition to your work that you've done, but also that you spent a little while with one of the greats of Latin or Afro-Cuban music, as it's called, and that's Eddie Palmieri. And he also referred to you as a genius. So let's talk about a couple of things on the subject of Eddie Palmieri. First of all, talk about a little bit about the experience playing in his band and working with another great teacher, and what is a genius to you that would make, or in your estimation, that would make Mr. Palmieri give you such an incredible title?
Well, I know when I first joined this, the first time I saw Eddie Palmieri live, I'd heard his music, was in Carnegie Hall. There's something strange about me. Musicians that I love and I go to see, and it really gets to my heart. Some kind of way I always wind up in their bands, and not saying, "Oh, I'm gonna go play with him." Just I want to go see him and get the vibe. And after I saw him in Carnegie Hall, I knew I had simpatico understanding because I came from African drums in here in New Orleans. So I could hear the African drums in his music. And 6 months later, I get a call from Brian Lynch. You want to go on the road with Eddie Palmieri? I was like, yeah, of course I do. And one of the first things he does is give you a lot of the folkloric music from Cuba, Puerto Rico, various islands in the Caribbean, and in the history of the music in those places. You know, so you can go home and study all of that stuff and understand how to move around in the style. But in my estimation, he's the genius because I call him the Charlie Parker of Afro-Cuban, Afro-Puerto Rican music, because you're free to play, even though you understand the style, you still have the freedom of bebop. You know, bebop is a lot of freedom musically if you understand the style of music. So he has created a way of playing that music where you're totally free, where anybody can come in there and play. You know, there's jazz meets salsa in New York. I heard of that. Eddie used to play there. I didn't get a chance to play with him then. But if a person of that caliber thinks of me in any kind of way as being worthy to play with him, I feel blessed and happy because the level of musicianship is so high with him. So it's just, he's one of the greatest. When they like Eddie, I call him one of the ones. He's one of the ones, man. And anybody who gets to play with him is a very fortunate individual. And you leave his band with way more than you came there with.
Oh yeah, well, if you can, then that makes it a great lesson. And learning from one of the true greats like that must have been an amazing experience. Let's talk a little bit now about, we're going to bounce around in a few different places. Let's talk about Treme. Of course, the show, big hit on HBO, and you were involved with that, not only involved with it from the musical perspective, but as I understand, a couple of the characters in some ways were based on you. Basically, the Lambro family, Albert and Belmont, his son, were in some ways based on you. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got involved with the show and some of your interesting experiences there?
Yeah, that was something that was a surprise for me because David Simon came to see me in New York and told me he had been following what I was doing. And he was doing The Wire at the time. He said, I'm going to be doing a new TV show in New Orleans, and I'd like to base some characters on you. And he said, it's because you play so many styles of music. And his words are, what are they going to do with you? Because you're a funk musician, you're a jazz musician, you're a classical musician. You like to dance. You're from the culture. I just said, well, you know, I'm a student first. I mean, I remember when we were younger, guys were worrying about getting money, but I never thought about that. I really never thought about money. And I said, if it comes, it comes. I'm just a student of the music. I really want to learn this music. My focus is learning this music. That's what I know. For some reason, I knew that was my job, to really listen to what the older guys were telling me. And it came to be that even if I didn't play with guys, older musicians would come to me and start telling me their life story and their concepts. And they said to pass it on. I guess they noticed that I was really paying attention. And so I used to tell my young guys who played with me, I'm telling you what those older musicians told me they wanted me to pass to you. So one day I was in Europe and Charles Lloyd was playing. And Charles Lloyd said, "Oh, Donald, how you doing?" And so he started a long conversation with me. And he said the same thing. I need you to pass this on. So I called the young guys and said, "Can you repeat what you just told me? Because they may not believe that you guys are telling me this, that you telling me this stuff. So I have information to pass on to them, so they will know this music." And maybe OC can elaborate on some of that, because we had a long run together, and he's really young musician. Not as young as before, but a little younger than me. I'll put it like that now. And he turned out to be an incredible drummer, and with exciting skills. That's one of my favorite drummers to play with. So you can talk about your ideas of some of the stuff we discussed and how we played music.
Yo, absolutely, Donald. Man, the lessons that you learned from the greats, man, weren't lost on us. You know, also include Christian Scott in that number as well, because when I went on the road with you, Christian was still a teenager, and you were bringing him up, grooming him up for these experiences. And I remember, well, you were hard on us, first of all, which as an older musician, as I try to relate to these young guys coming up, trying to survive. That was in 2005, wow. Before Hurricane Katrina. That was 2005 Jazz Fest. I took that picture, man. But I just remember
y'all been working, I can tell.
Yeah, just got off the bandstand, sweating like a dog. You know, New Orleans is hot, man. But yeah, just relaying those experiences and how jazz is life. And, you know, you have to live this music to really understand it. And the patience you took with us, making sure that we were serious about our craft, you know. And I remember a guy, I think it was a family member, man, we were in the dressing room about to walk to the bandstand, and you were just hard on Christian. You know, I remember you whispering in his ear while he was soloing, you know, you ain't playing nothing, you know what I mean? And, you know, come on, get him, OC, get him. I remember you talking to me like that while I was playing, but you had a family member ask you, why are you so hard on Christian? And you told him because you want him to be stellar. And I look at him today, you know, he's world famous, you know, doing amazing things and taking the music forward. So all these lessons weren't lost on us, Donald. Forever grateful, man.
Yeah, one of the things Art Blakey said, you have to be aware not to lose them, because to learn this music is hard. So you have to make sure that they can handle the lessons. And everybody so far has handled it. So we're happy. And then I think I used to tell you, when you get older, you're going to realize what's going on now.
That's exactly.
Remember that?
Exactly right.
I used to tell you, I say, you may not understand it now, but you'll understand it later.
I mean, I remember getting off the bandstand, man, almost about to cry. I mean, it was like, it was so intense, you know what I mean? Because you were serious about the music, you wanted to relay that. And our job was about conveying this music, you know, to the people and make sure that they felt us, our stories, and make sure we have to support you though, man. I mean, you know, we were young back there, just trying to keep up, you know what I mean? And not piss you off. And try to continue to push you, man. I mean, if we're not pushing you, then we're not doing our job, you know? I remember when we went to Europe, that whole experience of traveling around with you and watching how you dealt with people and how you handle business, the dignity, you know, and the way you projected the music, you know, and the majesty of the music, you know, it carried, you know, on to me. And to this day in our organization, we try and do the same thing, you know, just make sure this music continues to live and thrive, man. So those lessons.
Well, you are. You're not trying, you are. So I'm just proud of, I'm proud. So I sort of feel like Art Blakey sometimes when I look around and see all the young guys who came through the band. Yeah. You know, Christian McBride started with me. Yeah. Mark Whitfield. So many guys. You know, well, you didn't start with me, but you came along. I tried to give you everything I could, and I'm just proud to see everybody out there.
Yes, sir.
First of all, making a living from this music, and second, keeping it alive from the master's perspective, and relaying just what you said, the dignity and the majesty, and how hard this music is to play. A lot of people don't realize how many hours of practice just to get the opportunity to be good enough to play with somebody like Art Blakey of some of the guys who can really play just to be good enough. I mean, I remember I gave you a record, you had to learn the whole record.
That's right.
And you had to pay all those dues of learning those records and learn the style, because it was nouveau swing is a little different than just swinging.
Yeah.
So you figured out all of that stuff and you were able to come in. So that was, I know how hard that step is right there, because everybody can't get how to play what you had learned how to play by practicing by yourself, to get to the
right.
To being on a bandstand, to playing, and now we're dealing with the music in another space.
That's right. That's right.
And then you get it and you go and do your thing.
That's right.
And then you pass it down.
Right.
And it stays alive.
I remember you saying, yeah, you got the big beat now. You got the big beat. I was like, okay, I got to pass. I'll take it.
There you go. That's it, man.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let me jump in here, because you said nouveau swing, so you set my mind going again. Besides it being, gotta say, just from a personal perspective, one of my favorite of your albums, one when I was on the radio regularly, I used to play the mess out of. But let's talk about that nouveau swing being one of the 3 influential styles of jazz, Mr. Harrison, that you have been a part, or I should say, are the creator of. That being, so let's talk about those 3. Let's talk about, I believe it's New York second line, of course, nouveau swing, and then quantum jazz, which you relate to quantum physics. So can we talk about all 3 of those, starting, of course, with New York second line?
Yeah, well, you know, that was kind of an easy one, because I grew up in what we call second line culture in New Orleans, and that's traditional jazz bands and the dances that accompany that. So I actually wrote New York second line before I went to New York. When I was here in New Orleans, I wrote that song as a teenager, and then recorded it with Terrence Blanchard on a record called New York Second Line.
Yes.
But then it was really popular on the radio, and it sort of created a wave of the young drummers and young bands playing, adding second line, a modernized second line music to their repertoire, all of them writing that kind of music. And it became a thing. So I'm always surprised when other artists hear something that you do and they decide to incorporate it in what they do as well. But basically, I was just putting the second line music into a modern jazz context. So you still could dance to it. Because I always think of music as dance, that you dance to it. And coming from here, and then going to Harlem and learning the Lindy Hop from some of those dances.
Frankie Manning and some of those cats, yeah.
Yeah. I was in a club playing with Jack McDuff, and 2 older African American ladies pulled me on the side and said, "Come here, little boy. You can't play jazz unless you know how to dance to this music." Which was, we're gonna teach you how to Lindy Hop. And they took me in the corner and we Lindy Hop till it was time to play again. They was like, "You picked it up, huh?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm happy about it too. I'm gonna always remember this and think of the music like this." So then I really started playing from what I call a dancer's perspective, and I fine-tuned those ideas. Like I started writing songs thinking about the movement of the dances for certain styles of music, how you move your head and putting notes like that, and the syncopation of the body, writing a song. So it's actually locked up. When you play the song, it's already locked up in the dance because I wrote it from that perspective. So I always wanted to keep the music dancing, and that's one of the aspects of nouveau swing. Mm-hmm. Was all the popular music stuff. Well, first I went out and played smooth jazz. I did a smooth jazz record called the Tropic of Cool, I think.
Power of Cool. Yes.
The Power of Cool. Thank you, man.
Yes, sir.
And that record was pretty popular as well. But I wanted to get back to straight ahead jazz, and Creed wanted me, because of the popularity, was getting played a lot. He wanted me to stick with smooth jazz. but I waited him out, and then I went with Impulse. But what I took, what I understood about dancing and popular music and funk music and soul music and R&B and New Orleans music, and I figured out these kind of musics could go together. The different styles were actually simpatico, and I heard how to put that together, and that's how Nouveau Swing. You hear all these different beats, but it's always swinging, and it's always dance music, and it's always jazz. So I figured out how to that gray area. It was like in my head. I was like, oh, we can do this, and I'm happy that like my nephew, he does something he calls stretch music, but he says no Nouveau Swing, no stretch. So he took those concepts and moved it to his area. So when young guys come and tell me that, and you know how happy it makes me feel when my nephew says what I'm doing is based on what you did. That's one of the greatest joys in the world. And OC is a Nouveau Swing drummer.
Oh yeah. Put my time in. Definitely.
What you think about that when you were playing it?
Oh man, it was challenging, right? Because even the right hand was swinging, it still had groove. You know what I mean? It wasn't just straight swing. So you had the groove element, which you could pull from funk, hip hop, whatever, but you still had to have that pulse of the swing with the right hand. The coordination, it took some time. You know what I mean? Now it's almost like common, you know. But then, yeah, I hope I stepped up to the occasion, man.
Oh man, I was happy with you. Trust me. It might have been tough, but you can't keep a gig if the leader ain't happy. Remember that.
That's right.
And you kept a gig.
Yeah, for 5 years, man. Grateful.
Wow. See that?
Yeah.
See that?
You put me on.
See that? Wow.
Yeah. Yep. Hey, you owe me a record, by the way.
Okay, whatever you want, you got it.
I got you.
All right, you got me. Wakanda forever.
So tell me about quantum jazz, though. That's the one that really, because I was familiar with the other two, but quantum jazz caught my eye because of the fact that it said it's based on quantum physics. So how do we get from quantum physics into jazz, man?
Well, quantum physics is the study of what's natural.
Okay.
So that jazz is natural as far as I know. But in African music, the music, for me, it feels like the universe. It feels like it really, the ancient music really encompasses, when you really go back and hear the oldest, especially the oldest stuff, it encompasses a feeling of the universe that they were in touch with that some kind of way. So then I started looking at principles of quantum physics, and I said, yes, this is the same. The music moves the same, and it led me to find other areas that we weren't using in music, and I could liken it to music. For me, it sounds, the way it's composed and the way we look at it, it's like two-dimensional. But then I heard that it could be four-dimensional. That you can take, it can go in any direction. It doesn't have, even when you look at a page of music, it goes left to right. So it's one movement. We always think from beginning to end. You know, we think of it like that. But in the universe, every movement is possible. So I was able to see that, and I came up with, if you listen to a song I wrote called Quantum Leap, if you clap your hands on 2 and 4, and I want OC to try that. If you clap your hands on 2 and 4, the song will sound like it's just normal time. But if you clap your hands on 2 and 4, you're gonna see, wait a minute, what's going on here? But that's because it's in space time, just like the African music. So I want you to go listen to Quantum Leap and clap on 2 and 4.
All right, bet.
Come back and report to me.
All right, we'll do.
I'm making a note. I'm going to do that myself, man.
Yeah,
So,
I'll pass that along too to my students.
Right.
all right. Well, let's we'll get to the audience in a few minutes, but a few more things I do want to ask about. We're talking about you as a mentor. Of course, you were mentored by many of the greats, including being part of the greatest mentorship program in jazz as a messenger. But just looking at a list that I've gone through of some of the people you've mentored, of course, you already mentioned your nephew, the great trumpeter Christian Scott, Mark Whitfield, Christian McBride, John Baptiste, Trombone Shorty, Esperanza Spalding. But the one that fascinated me, that just stood out from all the other names, it said you also mentored Notorious B.I.G. So can we talk a little bit about how you got into a relationship with Christopher Wallace there, and what that relationship was like, and what you passed on to him as an artist?
Yeah, I met him. He was a little guy. He's about 13, and he's in New York. They have something called stoops in front of the building. Like a little.
I know him well. Yeah.
Yeah. So he used to stand out there every day. His mother wouldn't let him leave. So I said, one day I was walking by and I started talking to him. I said, "You're out here every day. What's going on?" He said, "Yeah, my mom won't let me leave, so I just stand out here and watch the world." I was like, "Who is this little kid talking like a grown up?"
Yeah.
And so then we started talking a lot. And he told me he was into hip hop. And I told him I love jazz music. I loved hip hop too. But he said he wanted to be a musician, but he wanted me to help him do hip hop. But I thought he just wanted to be a musician. So I was grooming him to be a jazz musician. But then he said, "No, I want to do hip hop." So I taught him things that we do in jazz that he could add to hip hop. And like one of the things that OC will probably find this interesting was if you listen to his rhythms, it's based on like Max Roach, the way Max Roach plays a snare.
Wow.
Or Philly Joe, or Art Blakey. If you listen to thinking of his rhythms, OC, I want you to do this. Another thing I want you to do. Listen to Notorious B.I.G. rapping, and think of a jazz snare drum solo.
Okay.
You're gonna hear it.
All right.
You're gonna say, "Wow," because he really figured it out. And just a lot of little things, like when he goes, "Woo!" I told him Marvin Gaye does that "woo" on the records, so try to put that in hip hop. Another thing I told him was to enunciate, because at that time I loved hip hop, but I didn't understand all of the words they were saying. So if you listen to him, he enunciates. You really can hear it. Another thing was to be able to write lyrics that you could visualize. Like if you're walking down the street, it was hot that day, sun was bright. I saw birds chirping. So when you hear that, you can see birds chirping and the sun being hot up in the sky. So he was able to write lyrics like that. And really just, I was trying to tell him to be uplifting, which he did in his own way. He knew how to, because he came from that life, he knew how to speak to those people in a way, our people, in a way that they understood, So a lot of those lessons he got, I wish he had stayed with us longer.
Yeah.
Because I'm almost positive he would have come around to another.
He and,
dealing with
of course, Tupac are arguably the greatest rappers of all time. When he was that young, did you see the genius in him? Did you see his potential to be one of the greatest of all time, or was he just another talented kid that you see in New York? Why'd you take so much interest in him?
He's a hard worker, so I knew that he would get whatever I was showing him, because the key to everything, you can attest to this, is hard work.
Yeah.
If I gave him something to work on, he actually worked on it.
Gotcha.
So something is going to happen when somebody has that kind of diligence, true diligence to try to understand things. And he was brilliant anyway. He was smart. Like I said, when I talked to him, it was like talking to a grown-up. He was silly too, but
Yeah.
very smart.
Yeah, it's scary. It's scary what those guys could be today because they died when they were 24, 26 years old, man. When they were killed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The men that they could have been, in time allowed, man. It's
I mean, he had another persona around me and the family. He was just like a jolly young guy,
Yeah.
When he was young, he was like a little kid, always telling jokes, making you laugh. He used to do Pee Wee Herman all the time. Just crack jokes. You'll never think of Notorious B.I.G. imitating Pee Wee Herman.
Right.
But he used to just crack jokes all the time, make you laugh. He was very loving, and we miss him, man.
Yes, you do.
Yeah,
absolutely. You said he played. Now, you said you were trying to move him toward jazz. Did he play an instrument of some kind?
Well, the first thing I had him do was he never really played, but I had him learning Cannonball Adderley solos, how to scat them, and he was doing good. I was like, "Yo, he got the talent. He could do it, man." Put a horn. Give him a horn. It's like, "Yeah, that's cool, man, but I want to rap." So he went in his direction, but he had the talent, in my estimation, to have become a jazz musician.
It's amazing. As you say, he is definitely gone too soon, still missed this day. Now, it said something else that I saw said you are, obviously, we see the connection between you and hip hop. Are you working on some type of project in hip hop at this point, or with some hip hop musicians?
Yeah, I don't know if you heard of DJ Logic, but Logic and I did some shows in New York. And then I got the call, and we never got to it. Like Kool Herc wanted to get down with it. And he's like the father of hip hop. So he called me one day and said, we need to do this. Because some of his people heard me, and they were like, I didn't know you could rap like that. So hopefully in the future we'll get together with Kool Herc, because I like, he's like, most people say he's the first DJs, but there's always going to be argument. But most people say he's the father of hip hop. That would be so incredible, man.
Oh yeah.
To rap with Kool Herc on the ones and twos. Woo. I don't even know how to handle that.
Taking me way back, man. Taking me back to the Bronx. I'm telling you, brother.
I don't even know how to handle that. Kool Herc called me on the phone.
Oh, you see, we keep on going on like this, they're gonna know we're a little bit over 40. You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah, I'm old, man. I don't mind. I'm about to be 60 on June 23rd. Yeah. So I'm here. I'm an old man.
Same here,
but
man.
I play with the Cookers. I don't know if you heard of the Cookers.
Oh yeah.
But that's one of the great jazz bands of these times. And I'm 60, and everybody else is over 80 or pushing 80. So, and they still sound great. But I'm learning again. Like, Billy Harper is in that band, and he was with Lee Morgan. So he had a special relationship with Lee Morgan. Yeah. So I'm learning Lee Morgan's phrasing and Billy Harper's phrasing from listening to him. He's got some stuff that he does on the tenor saxophone. Some of it I'm still having trouble trying to do it, but I'm learning a lot from him about phrasing and how they put that bounce they had. Billy Harper and Lee Morgan. Billy Harper's, he's the master of that. He's a master of that. He can turn a phrase, man. And Dr. Eddie Henderson, who just knows so much music that is mind-boggling. Dr. Eddie Henderson. I'm also in his band. Bro, he's the cat right now on trumpet. For who knows, like Miles and those guys, who knows this music backwards and forward. He pushes it forward. For me, he's the cat. And I'm just lucky to be around these guys. Billy Hart on drums. Come on, man. They're just man. So great. Shoot. George Cables.
Talking about.
I'm always picturing myself like, am I really up here with these cats, man? Oh my God. That's Billy Hart. That's Cecil McBee. That's George Cable.
Yeah.
That's Billy Harper. Man, these are cats I used to listen to. Man, come on, bro.
Yeah, man. These are the names on the back of all the old Blue Note albums, man. When we read them, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man,
They're
come on.
playing with them. Come on, man. Let me ask a question. One question has come through from the audience that I did want to pass along. We were talking about your experience in Latin music. One of our audience members did want to know, did you spend any time playing with the Fondi All-Stars?
No, I didn't. I think I did do like an all-star thing later, but I was too young when the Fondi All-Stars were really thriving in the 70s. I started playing saxophone in 76, so I missed that era. But I did get to play with some of the guys who played and who were members of the Fondi All-Stars. You know. Okay. I'm in that community, and playing with so many musicians, and I love them so much. Those guys are really incredible, and a few of the jazz guys, not all of them, they try to put it down. I say one thing about them: they're learning jazz, but you're not learning their music. So maybe you should take a lesson from that. Anyway, but they're just incredible musicians. You know,
some bad cats.
Giovanni Hidalgo, Chucho Valdez, man. I got a chance to, and even briefly with Tito Puente through Eddie Palmieri, just being around all those great musicians and being able to talk to them, get their ideas. So many people, man. All of us who get a chance to be part of this music, whether it's as an audience member or as a musician, who understand this, we are truly fortunate. Yes. That we have the capacity to be part of, in my estimation, something that is amongst the highest echelon of what human beings have done in the musical plane and on any plane. But it's scientific, it's spiritual, it's all of the above. I call it music for the mind, body, and soul. So we're fortunate that we have the capacity to be part of it and have the understanding to hear it, and we got past all the things that would block you from understanding this music, and I'm always happy to see people who dedicate themselves, like yourself and OC and Lonnie and myself, to keeping it alive and spreading the gospel.
Oh yeah, I think of what I once heard on a Heath Brothers album. I heard Ted Ross, who was the MC, as they closed it out. He said, "Let's raise a glass and toast this artistry. May the rest of the populace be sophisticated enough to dig it." Yeah, that was it. There you are out there. As we see the audience, what they're seeing now is a picture of Mr. Donald Harrison working with some young musicians, helping to pass along that artistry and make sure that it survives past us into the next generation. Now, Lonnie, you did put up a question, another question from the audience. Unfortunately, on my screen, it got cut off a little. It said, "Did you?" And then I didn't see any words after that. So, Lonnie, if you wouldn't mind, could you share that question with us if you can still see it?
Sure. That was a question from Felix Curtis, one of our audience members, and he wanted to know if Donald ever played with the great Eric Dolphy.
No, I didn't play with Eric, but I played with his band. There's two recordings. Donald Harris, myself and Terrence Blanchard with Eric Dolphy's original rhythm section. So yeah, go look those up. I took Eric's place in his band.
Wow. Which record was that, if you don't mind sharing?
I don't know if you look up my name and if you type in Google Donald Harris and Eric Dolphy, they'll come up. It's two recordings.
All right, cool. Okay, let me ask a question also. Something we've talked about a lot of different things. We talked about your work on Tremaine, and I was also pleasantly surprised when I saw one of the movies by the great director Jonathan Demme, Rachel Getting Married, to see you. Not only you were not only were involved with the music, but also you were doing a little acting in that. So tell us a little bit about how that came about.
Yeah, he came down here for after Katrina to help out, and I actually met him through my mother. And then I was playing in Cleveland, and his daughter was going to school at Oberlin. So I was on the bandstand announcing the musicians. And after he said, you know, I really like the way you announce the musicians. Can you come do some work on this movie I'm doing? I can't think of the name of it at the time. And I was like, yeah, I can come. He said, you're going to have to act, you know. I said, yeah, I had been in a play. So I said, I can try it. But I can say this, in 15 minutes, he gave me like the secrets to acting. And then said, go practice that. When you're ready, come back and we'll do the scene. So I went and practiced what he told me to do. And then I came and did the scene. And the actors were like, how long you been acting? I was like, I just did a play. It's like, no, you've been acting. I was like, no, you could tell Mr. Demi, he told me what to do. And it works. So it helped out when I did Treme, because I actually did, I think, like 9 or 10 episodes in Treme. And I actually learned a lot from those actors, what they call playing against them, because those some of them have like a powerful delivery. It's like, and they will blow you over. You're like, oh wow! The first time, I'm like, oh, they're coming at me hard right there. So
kind of like some cats on the stand, man.
Yeah, you have to come up there and you have to meet them. And then I remember Clark Peters at the one of the scene, he was like, man, that was fun. I was like, okay. So, all right, I must be okay. I'm not great as you, but I'm okay.
So wait, we got another question from the audience, but you know, you put it out here, so I got to ask. You said that this great Oscar-winning director gave you the secrets to acting, and you were able to go away and just learn in a few minutes. Are you able to share with us what the secrets to acting are, or any of them that he gave you?
Well, it's just knowing the universe you're in, understanding all the people in that universe and your relationship to them. Because, like, you know, it's just like if you go in a room, you know, the guys who gave you a hard time, you know, the guys that oh, that's my boy right there. So when you see them, that's how you engage them, right?
Right.
So if you understand, if you're reading a script and you can see the dynamic of each person, then that's how you engage them with acting. You engage them on the relationship you have.
Man, wish I had heard that all those years ago when I was trying to make my way in that business. Should have known that then. Oh well, but I know it now. Maybe I'll give it another shot. Lonnie, you say there's another question coming from the audience. Once again, it got cut off on my screen. Would you mind sharing that with us?
Absolutely. It's from JC McKenzie, and he wants to know more about the Congo Nation and wants you to share a little bit about the traditions of Congo Square and your, affiliation with with the culture.
Yeah, well, my father was a chief, and my uncle was a chief. Some family members before them, but it was passed down. It's always been around me from a baby. And then as I got older, I came back to New Orleans and started going out with my father, who had stopped when he started another group called the Guardians of the Flame. And then I started wanting to do it with jazz. And we made a record called Indian Blues, and then I made another record called The Spirits of Congo Square that deals with New Orleans music in the jazz context. But like I said, back when Congo Square was really going in the 1800s, if you were Congolese and you came to New Orleans on Sunday, all of the people would gather, all of the Africans would gather in Congo Square, and they would participate in their culture that they came from. So you can meet up with all the people from your specific culture and do the same thing you did in Africa. And that was very unique, a very unique situation. And then it informed jazz music, and it informed what we call second line music, and so the traditions of all the stuff that are still alive in New Orleans today. New Orleans is a very traditional city, and they kept everything alive. And everything that comes from New Orleans that's picked up by the world, that is one of the root contributors, you know, the second line culture. You can hear it in the R&B, you can hear the funk from New Orleans, and it's a different beat, a different syncopation, and a different freedom within the music. You know, it was the music of Congo Square was, and second line music was always funky and swinging at the same time.
Okay, well, question I do have to ask, at least from my watching and studying of Treme, and now I've seen a couple of pictures of you as Chief, fully in your attire, and were you the prettiest? That's what I gotta ask, man.
Well, you know, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. But what I know that I do is I make my suit, and the ideas. When I was young, I married Indian and African styles. But as I got older, my suits are an amalgamation of different African tribes. So now it's a pure African aesthetic, and or Afro New Orleans, because I'm not African. From, you know, but the root of it is the experiences that African Americans have in New Orleans. So, and it comes from that perspective, because we have a perspective in the way we talk, you know. So there's nothing wrong with that. And that's how I put my suits together. And I hope that some people like the way it looks, and it inspires them. The beauty of this culture is that little kids get to see, oh, there's a guy who's a chief, and he looks like me. So there's hope, because there's so many times where there's a negative portrayal of us. That this is one of the things that is positive. There's a lot going on with that. But I hope somebody looks at that and sees all the work. It takes about a year to make that, and they're all handmade and designed by me and put together by me. So it's a lot of work, but it's a labor of love. Yeah, and you feel a connection to the universe that I can't even explain how that happens when you're putting that together and you're sitting there by yourself all those hours. Something happens to you, and it moves every part of your fiber. It's transcendental. Even when you're out there on Mardi Gras, it's transcendental, and the music is transcendental. That's why people keep coming back for it, because it transcends their being to another place. You can close your eyes and not even know what's going on with music and with culture. You're somewhere else, and it's a pure bliss. And once you feel that, you got to keep coming back, because it's for you to be in a better place. Art Blakey used to say, music washes away the dust and dirt of everyday life.
Yes.
So that's the same thing with that culture. If you go in a room with that, I've heard some people say it's akin to floating out in space. It's just like, it just takes you away. And the people who were doing it when they were enslaved, that was their freedom when they got to do that. Our music was always our freedom when they were back then. And now it's still our freedom. in a way. It's everybody's freedom in a way. Because everybody picked up on the music that we created. And now our culture and our music is part of all cultures in the world. So that's an incredible thing. It's truly an incredible phenomenon that took place. The strength of something about what all these people have done made other people want to do it. That's incredible.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Absolutely. Lonnie, let me just ask, are there any more? I know we're coming to the end of our time, but are there any other questions out there that the audience has sent to you at this point?
Yes, I have a question for Mr.
Okay.
O. He wants to know.
Oh, Mr. O.
Mr.
Yes.
O wants to know what's next on your agenda, Donald. He said he knows you have a lot left.
Oh yeah. I'm sort of keeping the next thing, but it's in line with me playing a lot of different styles of music. So it's coming soon, and I'm doing two things that are going to be very unique, and I think give musicians more freedom and let audiences know about the depth and the breadth of what they can do as artists. So look for this stuff that's coming out soon. Tell everybody you should check this out. And I think it's going to help jazz music immensely. It's the thing I think that jazz musicians need to do. What I'm about to do, we're about it anyway, but we're not doing it. We're about, we do this, but we do this for ourselves. But we need to do it out in the public. Just like we feel, we don't do everything because there's like limits on people, like, oh, you can't do this, you can't. No, you can, because it's you. So I want to create this format to give musicians the opportunity to really be themselves, and all with everything they do. You know, well, I'm talking about all this stuff now, but I had a lot of fights in the music industry, switching back from smooth jazz to acoustic. The record companies did not understand that. Or going to New Orleans music, you're going all over the map, man. What's up with you? That's because I love it all. And so I'm gonna pursue learning as much as I can, and hopefully making people happy with the music and spreading some love and joy, and the idea that everything, all styles of music, have value and are worthy of playing. So that's what Charlie Parker did. They called him just a blues player, but he was playing. You know, that's what J. McShann, because he had the blues in him, which was the commercial music of his day.
Yeah.
He even played with the what they call jive talk. It's like the rap of the day. That's recordings with Charlie Parker playing with the rappers of his day.
Mm-hmm.
He did commercial recordings. He did Latin recordings, Afro-Cuban with Channel Pozo.
Channel Pozo,
He did everything.
Yeah, man.
So John Coltrane did everything. Miles Davis did everything. So they did what was in their hearts. So if it's in your heart just to play straight ahead, I understand it. But if it's in your heart to play a lot of different things, do that as well.
That's true, because as Ellington said, there's only two kinds of music, good and bad.
Well, I'm going to further elaborate on that.
Yeah.
If you like what you play, it's good. If one person likes it, it's even better. If more people like it, it's incredible. If you make one people happy plucking a note, then that music is beautiful for that person, and it was necessary.
All right. Lonnie, I believe, because Lonnie, I think you said you have a question.
Yes, I do have a question, and
Okay.
I also want to be mindful of the time, but
Yes.
I did want to go ahead and put this image back up. This Donald, and I'm sure you remember, this was probably 2011 or 2012 when you came down to Charlotte to be our guest clinician for our Jazz Art Summer Music Camp. And that was one of the most amazing summers that we and our students have had. You were just amazing, and we are still grateful that you were able to spend that time with our students. And so what I wanted to know is, can you share a little bit about the importance of music education? And with all the distractions that students have and kids have today, why do you think it's important that kids continue to study music and jazz, in particular, and the lessons that even kids today can take from studying music like jazz?
Well, if you want to play music that you can, for me, well, I'll put it like this. For me, jazz is music where you can reach for your highest goals as an artist, as a person. The ideal of jazz is to be your best. So that tells you right there the kind of work that you have to do. And it makes people who want to play it strive to do their best. Even if they quit playing music, it's instilled in them. It's an area, and it's been proven that playing music makes you a smarter person, makes you use parts of your brain that you wouldn't use if you weren't playing. And so that transcends into other areas of your life. And you have to learn how to play together or work together to create a beautiful sound together. So it teaches teamwork. It teaches you so much. And I hope that we keep this going as much as possible, and that we find more ways for musicians to make money and make a good living, and that that the audiences cherish the music and the musicians and realize all the hard work they put in to present music to them, and realize that we are playing, but we have to do a lot of work so that you can sit there and be happy about it. So that's something that we need to realize, because I mean, being not a real old musician, but a little bit older musician, sometimes I feel some people don't realize the scope of what an artist goes through. And they just say, you're playing music. No, we're working, we're playing music, but even a football player has to go out through all this weight training and learn all these plays. It's very hard to be a professional in any sport. And it's hard to be a professional musician. So they deserve some remuneration for their hard work and some respect. And the young people, they need to just do everything that the teachers tell you, because most of them, 99% of them, have your back, even though you might think, oh, he's mean, he's da. Listen, they got your back, and you will understand if you become a professional musician later. And if you don't become a professional musician, it will instill qualities in you that you will always remember. It's like if you played sports as a little tyke, and it instilled things in you that you use, to these days. So it's another area that can make better human beings.
Very well said, sir. And that's a perfect place for us to leave it. Donald Harrison Jr., Big Chief. Donald Harrison Jr., we thank you so much for spending a little bit of your time with us this evening here on Conversations with Curtis. We've enjoyed, and we thank all of you, our audience members, for coming out and spending a little bit of your time, because jazz truly does live here. And thanks to all of you and your support, we can continue to keep it alive. My name is Curtis Davenport. You can catch me now and forever at my station. That's Kurt Jazz Radio, playing 24/7, the best jazz anywhere on Live 365. And thank you, Mr. Harrison. Thank you to my brother Osi for being a part of it as well. And let's turn it back over to Lonnie to close us out. Thanks again.
All right, thank you, Curtis. Again, thank you, Donald, and thanks for joining us. And thank you, everyone, for being here and joining us. And I also want to say thanks to our donors and everyone who have supported us today on Giving Tuesday. It's definitely not too late. If you would like to support us on this day, jazzarts.org. And again, we are a nonprofit organization that's here to connect the community and build the jazz audience through education, performance, and musician support. And you can show your support at thejazzarts.org. And that support, again, will go to support our programs that build on education, musician performances, and supporting local artists. So with that, I think we are done for this evening. We will be back next week, same bat time, same bat channel. Thank you, everyone. And you guys have a great night.
Take
So
care.
long, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.